Hello everyone and welcome to Fright Night. Are you ready for another scary story? A young girl home alone for the evening, the startling realization that she's being watched, and a twist that's been chilling campfires and sleepovers for generations past. Are you sure you're ready for the classic urban legend, Footprints? Haley had just turned 16 a few months earlier. She'd started her first job at a local supermarket and was already dreaming about college. Smart, ambitious, and determined, but her parents weren't quite ready to let her grow up. They still gave her chores, curfews, and had her babysitting or house sitting for neighbors whenever they could. And that's what she was doing on this particular Friday night. While all her friends were out at parties or get-togethers, she was stuck house-sitting for the Richards, a wealthy couple who lived just a few houses down from her parents. They were on vacation for 3 weeks, and while it wasn't exactly how Haley wanted to spend her Friday, there were perks. The pantry was fully stocked with snacks and supplies, and one cabinet was filled to the brim with more alcohol than she'd ever seen in her life. Curious and just on the edge of teenage rebellion, she'd even considered trying some. After all, she would be there all night. As the sun went down, she tried to pass the time with TV and reading, but her mind wandered to thoughts of her friends and the laughter she was missing, and eventually, she called her best friend Vicky, who'd mentioned that she might be going to a party that evening. To Haley's surprise, however, Vicky said the party had fallen through, and when Haley told her what she was doing, Vicky offered to come over and keep her company. Haley hesitated. She wasn't supposed to have guests over, but loneliness eventually won out. When Vicky arrived, the two made food, talked for hours, and laughed until their sides hurt. Then one of them suggested sampling the alcohol in the cabinet, and minutes later, they were sipping random bottles, names unpronounceable, both of them rolling on the floor giggling. But as the buzz set in, Haley began to feel uneasy. The living room had large picture windows that looked out onto the snow-covered yard. Inside, the lights were bright, but outside, the world was pitch black. The glass almost acted like a mirror, reflecting the room back at them, and Haley couldn't shake the feeling that someone could be standing right past the reflection, watching them. She glanced up and froze. There, faintly visible beyond the reflection, was a dark figure. "Vicky," she whispered, "there's someone out there." The girls crept carefully to the window, peering out, but there was nothing there, just the trees and the fresh snow. They tried to laugh it off and went back to scrolling through movies, but neither could focus. And then suddenly, Vicky gasped. She pointed at the window, swearing that she'd seen the same figure again, only this time closer. Haley's heart pounded as they stared out the glass. They carefully scanned the perimeter, and again, found nothing. The girls sat back down, jittery and quiet, but just as they started to convince themselves it was all in their heads, the house phone rang. Haley picked it up. Nothing but silence. Then, after a moment, a deep, gravelly voice spoke. "I'm coming for you." The line went dead, and the lights went out. The girls screamed and screamed. Fumbling through the dark, they found the breaker and flipped switches at random until the house flickered back to life. But when they turned towards the window, the figure was there, standing just outside, staring in. They were frozen in fear. Then Haley grabbed her phone and dialed 911. Minutes later, flashing lights painted the snow red and blue, and police officers searched the yard with flashlights until one suddenly shouted for the others. They spoke quietly and briefly, and then sprinted to the front door. An officer escorted the terrified girls outside while the others entered the home, guns drawn. Haley, trembling, asked what they were storming the house for. The officer hesitated for a moment. "When we got the call," he started, "we checked around the house for any clues, any footprints, but there weren't any." Haley frowned. What do you mean?" The officer drew a deep breath. "It means that whoever you saw wasn't actually outside." He looked nervously towards the house. "It was a reflection, and they were standing right behind you." The story of Footprints, sometimes told as the Man in the Window or the Watcher, is one of the oldest and most retold urban legends in North America, and it's thought to have first circulated in the 1950s and 1960s, spreading through oral tradition, campfire tales, and eventually into urban legend collections like those of Jan Harold Brunvand in the 1980s. Its core twist, that the danger is actually inside the house, plays on a primal fear. The violation of safety within one's own domain. Now, variations of this story have existed since the days before electric lighting, when candles cast long shadows and windows became like mirrors at night. The newer version, with no footprints in the snow, became particularly popular in colder regions like the Midwest and Northeast, where fresh snow provided a perfect setup for the reveal. Scholars often interpret the legend as a morality tale, a warning about teen independence and disobedience. In most tellings, such as mine, the protagonist is a young man or woman alone defying the rules, reinforcing mid-century parental fears about unsupervised youth. Yet the story endures today not for its moral message, but because of its pacing and its twist. The realization that what seemed safely outside was actually standing right behind you. While there's no confirmed real-life case that directly inspired footprints, it echoes true incidents of home invasions and stalking cases reported all throughout the 20th century. Some of such stories that made national headlines and shaped the public's anxiety about being watched. It's a timeless legend because it's built on an everyday horror, that of being alone at night, catching a glimpse of movement, and wondering if the danger you fear isn't really out there, but already in the room, right beside you.